before I sort of give some top tips, I'd like to say thank you to you all. I mean, it was an absolute honour to be able to read over 200 entrances. I think we had such an amazing response that actually it was quite hard for us all to pull all the information together. And I received a big folder on Friday evening that arrived at my door, sort of a knock, and this guy thrust this folder into my hand, and I thought, oh my God, it's going to be a long weekend. But actually, I was absolutely overcome. And it was like being on holiday where you can't put down that great novel. And I felt totally and utterly inspired and very excited to be a judge. So thank you all for entering and sharing all your ideas with me. And I've truly learned so much by actually being a judge. In my profession, I sort of interview as a profession, and I was trying to think last night how many people in my career I've met, and worked out to be over 6,000, which is just sort of, my God, my head's probably boggling with people's careers, and really, you know, trying to sort of think about people's lives and careers and what makes them different. So when I had to sit down and judge with Patrick, we felt actually awful because we were sort of having to try to gauge people, and what people started off being a sort of an 8 and a 9. We then had to introduce a 0.5, and then we had to introduce a 0.6 and 0.7 as we went through, because the standard really was incredible. And I during the process when we were there, we sort of said, do people have to be superhuman to be able to be a woman of tomorrow? Is that really the criteria? Because it was the 9s and the 10s that we sort of having to shortlist. And actually one of the entries, Victoria, she wrote, and I love this quote, it's from her submission: I have to be a super woman, a super mum, along with being a work mum and a work wife to so many in my office. And I think that just sort of sums up actually what it's like being a woman in a workplace. Actually, there's so much that we do have to juggle. We want to have great careers, but actually, dare I say, often the women are running the homes or running the families and being the main person responsible for that. So it is hard, and I think, you know, being superhuman is very hard. And it reminded me of a time, I have 2 children and a daughter who's 12 now, and when she was 6, I was running my business. I was actually trying to do up a home to create this family home and this perfect environment for my children. And she turned to me and she said, Mommy, I know you're good and I know you like to get things done, but you're trying to do 3 jobs. I just think it's too much. Can you cut back one, but preferably keep being my mum? And I was like, oh my God. You know, what do you do when your daughter tells you that? Do you stop? Do you continue on in this frantic state? Or do you actually sometimes think life is challenging and sometimes life is a bit of a juggle? And how can I learn to cut through that? And how can I help other people to cut through that and maybe not have to sort of tread water the way that we all do sometimes? But life is like that, and I think these type of events and awards, we can learn, we can network, we can help other women to cut through all that and be women of tomorrow and create a platform where women can have a successful career and can have a family, because I think it is all possible. So coming together and sharing these ideas and sharing our careers and how we've got there is really, really vital. Now, I'm really passionate about talent. I founded a headhunting business coming up to 13 years ago. So if I wasn't passionate about talent, then I'm in the wrong industry. But I'm also passionate about helping diversity in the workplace. And I think I, as a headhunter in the recruitment industry, do need to give back. We are in that sort of perfect space where we can make change. And my career hasn't been conventional. I understand the juggles that you have to face. And I actually had a very unconventional career. I started my first business when I was 23 in New Delhi. in the marriage consultancy industry. And you're probably thinking, is she nuts? A 23-year-old in Delhi arranging marriages. Yep, I probably was nuts. But actually, you know, going out and doing things differently and seeing the world probably actually helped me in the industry that I am in today. And I had a client that turned to me about 3-4 years ago. They're an agency, and they said to me, Alice, we've got a real issue, and can you help? And, you know, we want more women in our office, but we don't seem to be able to hold on to them. And can you help us to understand how we can retain this talent and attract more women, especially at senior end in? So I thought, well, I can give you my sort of 5 pence worth, or I can actually go out into the industry and do some research. And actually it's great because Hem's here tonight who helped me with it. And we went out to the industry, we did a survey, and we got some feedback. And actually the biggest response was about lack of confidence in women and women coming back to work post-maternity. Actually women needing more flexibility, not only in terms of hours, but in attitude. And also for women, to be more flexible in terms of their attitude and come up with solutions. So if they wanted to take more time off on maternity leave or do part-time, to come up with a solution rather than always asking and feeling it was entitlement. And actually, at the same time of doing that research, I had a few mums coming up to me at the school gate saying, you know, I used to be in PR, I used to be in advertising, I used to be in marketing. I hear a headhunter in this space. Can you help me get back into the industry? I've been out of it for 4 years. And I thought there was such a disconnect between what businesses actually wanted and all this amazing talent that was at homes looking for great jobs, and could we bring it together? It actually led me to launch my second business that I run, which is the Work Crowd, and we connect businesses directly to talented individuals who can work more flexibly. But I do think working environments need to change, and I think attitudes need to change if we want to harness great women and keep them there for tomorrow. So with these thoughts, you know, during the judging process, we were looking at really what stood out and what would make a difference. And so there were some key themes, and I've tried to condense it down into a couple here that I can share. Passion absolutely came across. Passion, energy, but also empathy. You know, women that were empathetic of other women, that understood the challenges that they faced and were prepared to actually stand up for them and make a change and make some difference. So they were changing the environments within their companies, but also outside, and they were going the extra mile. So it was more than my job. I mean, these were individuals who were showcasing great work that they were doing for clients. So they were working on some amazing campaigns with real social purpose behind those campaigns. They had transformed departments, but they included some stats and figures and case studies, which really kind of brought those things to life. They were ambassadors outside of work. They'd set up networking groups, coaching groups internally. For women coming back to work, they were helping women in terms of settling back into the working environment. So there was lots of really good examples of things that people were doing just outside of the work as well as internally within the working environment. And I love this quote because I think it kind of summarizes everything up as well. Our winners should be shining the light so others can follow. And what was meant by that was actually women weren't just thinking about how could they get themselves to the top. They were actually creating pathways and opening doors and creating spaces for other women to come in. So it's not always about just getting to the top. To get to the top, we also need to open up and allow other women to come in. So mentorship schemes, return to work policies, looking at hiring initiatives to attract other women in. So some really great things to actually get women in the first place, to help that pipeline and to keep women, to help them to get to the top place. So there were some key things actually that I looked at some of the finalists actually and saw what was being discussed in the IPA and Campaign magazine and the article that was written. And there was very much some key themes by the winning entries, and I definitely advise people to go and have a look at that. And they were things that we talked about on the day as well. So the first one was your story. We want to hear your story. You know, if you don't put it down, we won't know about it. Where have you come from and where do you look to go? Personal touches. Some people have come from different backgrounds, different countries, had had to deal with cultural issues. There were single mums who'd had children at very young ages, who'd gone on to launch businesses and then moved into a different career. So, you know, we want to know these things and tell us your stories, because again, we can all learn from those. You know, what obstacles have you overcome? You know, we again need to hear about the challenges that you faced in the working environment and outside the working environment. You know, what are your proudest moments? Do share them. You know, what commercial success have you had? What campaign success have you had? What success have you had in terms of implementing some new policies within the company, and what impact has that had? Insights into your leadership style and personality traits. People did tell us about themselves, and also great quotes and references from people who'd worked with them. I think they were really impactful and had a real sort of helped us actually see what that person was like, how they worked with other individuals, and the impact that they were actually having. What matters to you most? What's your burning thing inside of you? And are you going beyond that role? So some key sort of feedback were, you know, be authentic, be about the future, not about the old ways. Show us what you love to do in the campaigns that you've worked on. Reference colleagues, clients, mentors, managers. They're all important. Does things that goes beyond the goals and promotes the unsung heroes. I love that, because I'm sure there's so many unsung heroes in the companies that you work for that need promoting. So the key things is actually make sure that you're communicating effectively and selling yourself. I know it's probably anti for women to sell themselves, and there's a whole lack of confidence theme that's gone through our discussions, but do make sure you're selling yourself and communicating in the right way. There was a great entry that actually put things in headings and then detailed underneath, and the way they broke it down really helped that submission to stand out over others. So when there is 200 and we read all 200, you have to make sure that your entry is really standing out from everyone else. So displaying it in a different way really helps that. A couple of don'ts. So fighting talk. We wanted to let people know this wasn't a contestant for Alan Sugar. It was for Women of Tomorrow, and if there was too much fighting talk, again, it wasn't authentic. Don't just talk about your career, go beyond your career. That's really what we want to know, is absolutely mention your career, but what do you do outside of that? And some people just focus purely on their career. And also, some people were overly philosophical in an entrance, so they might have spent, say, 75% of the entrance talking about why the award was important. I think it's really important to include that, but that, out of, say, a scale of 10, might be worth 1 or 2 marks. So don't spend all your submission talking about that, and make sure it's really balanced. So having a very good, solid, balanced entry, I think, was really important. So what can you do now? The awards happen every 2 years, or in the past have happened every 2 years. So there's some key things that you can probably start doing to think about entering next time round to make sure you've got an award-winning entry. So what issues is the industry facing? There are some big issues that Patrick has been discussing this evening, and we've all discussed the past few weeks. And I've had a look at, again, the finalists talk a bit about the burning issues in the industry. A key one is lack of confidence. So what can we do to shape the businesses that you're in today and make individuals more confident. But here's some great quotes about the lack of confidence and what can you do if you want to win an award next year. What can you do to ensure that people in your business, women in your business, have got greater confidence? Another theme that came through was the pay gap. So the gender pay gap was a big issue. Am I earning the same amount as my male counterparts? Is there a glass ceiling, and how do I break it? Is there anything that you can do now in your organisations to change that? Got 2 years to make change. I think it would be an amazing entry if you said, this is an issue that was faced, and actually in 2 years' time, what have you done to change it? And I think it's possible. So if now we're aware of what the issues are, it's about going out and making change. This is role modelling. I mean, this is, I think, what the awards are really about, is showcasing some great examples and how can you showcase what you've done within your organisations to help and inspire people to reach their full potential. And the final one was actually people speaking out and having a voice, making sure we're talking. What are the big issues, and are we speaking up about them? And we should be shouting from the rooftops. Absolutely agree. So we need to have that voice, and we've got 2 years to make sure we're creating that voice within the companies that we work for. You can start building your profiles now, things around social media, your LinkedIn, get involved in some great IPA events, so you can learn and share those ideas. I think that's a really good way of making sure that you're affecting change. Find a mentor if you haven't got one. I absolutely think it's really, really helpful for people to have mentors. I have mentors that I turn to when things get tough, and then they fix me up and off I go again. So, if you can find a mentor, ideally one that you don't have to pay, then brilliant. I don't know whether the IPA offer mentorship schemes or if there's ways in which you can tap in to senior women who can help, but I think absolutely they will allow you to cut through things so much faster. Apply next time, absolutely. Yes, we all must apply next time and make sure, because, Patrick and I have said this already, but the entrants were fantastic and it was really, really hard. And I think just a slight tweak or things that you can do from now until then, you really will have award-winning entries and you will be affecting change. So please do apply. And I think we very much felt that on the day and wanted people to apply. So I'm going to leave you with the final quote, which I think is just brilliant. We are no longer the fierce 80s women smashing glass ceilings and kicking ladders away. We are the next breed of women leaders who believe that getting to the top means you need to make space for more, who understand that to truly change the stats means we simply need more women in the numbers, and soon. And this was feedback from a judge. She wrote an article. It's on her LinkedIn profile, Becky McGowan-Banks. Do read it. It was great insight. And I do think, that's what it's all about. In this room are the rising stars. And I was absolutely blown away by the entrance that I read. And, we'd just like to thank you all for spending the time to enter. And please do again next time.